dates given in Scripture. I wouldn't put an exact date on it, but I'd say within a few hundred, maybe 1,000 years of that is certainly reasonable. So those are the verses. Jesus said the creation of Adam was the beginning. Was Jesus lying?
There are many ways of trying to reconcile religion and science, and the creationism movement is not a monolithic group of people. There are quick creationists who believe in a young earth, progressive creationists who believe in an old earth, and gradual creationists. This is a quotation from William Bell Riley. Many of you might recognize this guy's name. This is a person whose church Billy Graham took over. And this will give you an idea of the lack of consensus on the age of the earth that was prevalent among fundamentalists in the 1920s. Even if evolution is only a scientific theory of interpretation posing a scientific fact, as the creationists argue, creationism is only a religious theory of biblical interpretation posing as biblical fact. And finally, this is a religious physicist, Paul Davies, winner of the 1995 Templeton Prize.
The last question. You mentioned on your previous slide there that the young Earth, I think they called it, I didn't get a chance to write it all down, that they reject much evidence. If you want to call her last slide back up, the first one she used in that last section, whatever number that was. What scientific evidence am I rejecting with the young Earth, literal, biblical, creationist position? The slide said that the people, which put me in that category, young Earth creationists, reject, there it is, they reject much physical and biological science. Would you please show me what physical or biological science I have rejected? I taught both of those subjects and love them dearly, and there is much about science that I really enjoy. I just object to evolution being mixed in with it because it is a pagan religion, unworthy of anybody's waste of time to study that. I like science, and I'd like to see what I've rejected, please.
Well, that's not one of your questions, but that's okay. If you could go to grade 18. We'll start there. You've totally misrepresented the concept of index fossils in the geologic column. There are numerous areas of the world where igneous rocks are dated, and the geologic column was originally put together by the succession of the layers. Ever since the discovery of radiometric dating in the 1900s, parts at least of all of the layers have been dated. And what we've got here is layers of volcanic ash. These happen to be in Lake Turkana. And this volcanic ash dates to 1.2 to 1.3 million years. This one, 1.4 to 1.5 million. This one, 1.6 to 1.8 million years, and this one 2.2 million. You totally reject the science of radiometric dating for starters. Let's see, you haul in the Miller-Urey experiment and totally ignore the fact that there have been 40 or 50 now more years of experiments that support this prebiotic Earth. You talked about oxygen being present in the early Earth. What you didn't tell them was that it was probably, if it was there at all, it was a very small percent, and that the early Earth's atmosphere was indeed quite a reducing atmosphere, and you can tell this from the minerals. Let's see. Rejected carbon-14 dating and its correlation with varves. You don't believe that varves are real. Transitional forms.
Leave that one up, would you? I would challenge anyone who's interested in the topic to read the very last chapter of the book called Bones of Contention by Marvin Lubenow, who has a very extensive chapter just about the KBS tuft, named after K. Brennemeyer, something like that, Brennenmeyer, whatever her name was. The KBS tuft was, for many years, radiometrically dated at 260 million years old, until Richard Leakey found a skull, a perfectly normal human skull, its skull ER1470, was found under the KBS tuft. And there's quite an interesting story of how the KBS tuft was redated when many, many people had dated the KBS tuft at 260 million years old until that skull was found. Now, if you really want to know the truth about how these layers are dated, I would challenge you to read that last chapter and refute what he says, Marvin Lubenow says in that chapter. I will send you the book if you promise to read that chapter only. Bones of Contention. That book deals with all of the so-called cavemen that have been found. They have all been discredited. They're hoaxes or frauds or misidentified.
Black for you. We're closing. $47. Make it 47. That's not 47, is it?
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, this is not a science versus religion issue. Many of the citations used today have come from evangelical Christians, often former young earth creationists who did pursue degrees in science. Please visit their websites and read their articles on the orange bibliography sheet. About a week ago on WJBC, Kent Hovind made the point that there are literally thousands of scientists who are creationists. And in the vaguest sense of the word, I suppose that's true. He mentioned Michael Behe, author of Darwin's Black Box, as an example. Behe is an intelligent design theorist who is clearly an old earther and comfortable with some aspects of evolution. This only underscores the fact that there are many ways of reconciling science and religion. There is no monolithic creationism movement, and even other young earthers disagree with a lot of what Hovind has to say. Gerald Larsma of the ICR says the tree ring dating validates carbon-14 dating.